Hey everyone, welcome back to another Merly on Time. My name is Chris. I talk about budget watches. I love watches, and I think you need to have a great looking piece to wear on your wrist if you don't. And today I'm going to be talking to you about a watch that I've owned for about a year. It is this Pagani Design, homage to a Rolex Gmt Master Ii, model number PD1662. I will leave a link in the description below where you can pick this up on the Pagani Design website as well as Aliexpress. When I bought this watch about a year ago, I bought it for, I believe, around $115 Canadian. I think it's listed at about 90 something dollars US right now as of the taping of this video, but there are always sales that happen, especially on Aliexpress, where you can get this watch for a lot less. It's a great watch. I love the fact that you can track at least 3 time zones by looking at the dial, and I'll show you how that works as well. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, the analytics tell me that over 90% of you that watch the videos haven't subscribed. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, please comment on the video, let me know what you think of the content and what you think of the watch that I'll be showing you. And thank you very much for your support. So let's turn the camera around now and have a look at this awesome watch. Okay guys, so today I didn't bring the box with me, but this watch comes with a pretty standard Pagani Design packaging. Before I give you an up-close look at that, I am wearing my Pagani Design. As you can see, I like this brand. This is their Tag Heuer Autavia homage, and this is just another beautiful piece. I'll be showing that on my channel at some point as well. But this is the Pagani Design 1662 homage of a Rolex Gmt Master Ii. So how good does it do? Well, here is the Rolex Gmt Master Ii, and you can get it for 20 grand, or about $26,000 Canadian, or you can have this nice looking piece for just over $100 Canadian, under $100 US. And so I'm just gonna pop the crown in there and get the movement going. And so it is a 40 millimeter case diameter, 14 millimeter case thickness, and the band stainless steel. It's all stainless steel band case crown. The band is 20 millimeters at the lugs. It does taper down quite a bit. I don't know exactly what to. And again, a nice locking clasp that Pagani Design gives you with the fold-over safety and the Pagani Design etched onto the clasp there. The movement in this is not as other Pagani Design movements or watches use. It's not the Seiko. It is an automatic. As you can see, there's the heart beating in there. This particular movement is the Chinese Pearl DG5833 GMT, and I would say that I would have preferred to have a Seiko movement in it. This movement doesn't have a great power reserve on it, and it can be somewhat finicky. I have had it stop on me when I've been wearing it and haven't been, you know, super overly active walking around or whatever. But I have found that typically I can get a 24-hour power reserve on the movement. It does have a unidirectional bezel. You can see on the bezel that the 24-hour military time is going around the bezel from 12 to 23, or well, basically 24. That would be the 24. It is a 60-click unidirectional bezel. The Rolex Gmt Master Ii would have a bidirectional bezel, and but this one just has 60-click. It's got a little bit of play in it, but of course for $100 you can't expect to be getting, you know, something completely amazing. They've really done a great job of that date magnification window, although I would say that depending on the angle when you're looking at it from your wrist, it can be a little bit tricky to read. I'm not sure that the magnifying glass is exactly centered as it should be, but at any rate, it's got a nice date window in there. The movement is a hacking and winding movement. So the crown, once it's unthreaded, you turn it clockwise to wind the movement. If you pull it out twice, you'll see it's got two distinct clicks, and now you can set the time, and you can see that the seconds hand has been hacked. And the when it's pulled out to the first click, a clockwise turn will change the date. So you can see that changing the date in the date wheel. And then the counterclockwise, which we'll show you in just a moment, will set the GMT watch. And so this is just a really nice piece. Let me give you just a closer look up at the dial here. You can see it is very much mimicking the Rolex in just about every way with the Mercedes handset. I love the red GMT dial that you can see right there at about the 5 o'clock. I'll explain how that works. Just love how it accents with red. Of course, you've got the triangle, all applied indices, the triangle, and at the 12 o'clock, batons at the 6 and 9, and the circular indexes. They do have lume, but the lume on this watch isn't very good. It's not great at all, and so you can't expect much for a $100 or a less than $100 US watch. And so let me just show you how you would use this movement to track more than one time zone. You can track two, here we go, 2 or 3. And so as you can see, it is just about 9:21 my time. And the GMT, you can just consider this like a second hour hand. This GMT hand is also pointing at the 9. It's almost between 9 and 10 now. Now, I live in Canada, in Ontario, and let's say I wanted to know what time it was on the West Coast in Vancouver. I know that they're 3 hours behind me, so I'm going to use the bezel. And because they're 3 hours behind, I want to set the bezel 3 hours back. So I'm going to, so there's 1, 2, 3. So 3 hours behind would be at the 21. And so I'm going to rotate the bezel until the 21 is at the 12 o'clock. And when I do that, you'll see now that the GMT hand is pointing at the 6 o'clock. So I know that by looking at this watch, I can tell it is about 20 after 9 my time, and using the GMT as a second hour hand, and it is pointing at the 6. I know it's about 20 after 6 in Vancouver right now on the west coast of Canada. Now there is a way of also telling what time it is in 3 time zones, and I'll show you that how to do that right now. It's a little trickier. Okay, so for the GMT, in order to track 3 time zones, we're going to use the 24-hour dial around the bezel as 1 time zone, the actual GMT hand, which you can see at the 12 o'clock, to record another time, and of course the hour hand to record the 3rd time. Now, I just find it easier to, if you're going to try and track 3 different time zones, to set the watch at 12 o'clock, so you can see it's at 12 p.m. Now, on the West Coast, I know it's 3 hours behind, so I'm going to use the GMT hand, the red hand at the 12 o'clock, to tell the time for the West Coast. And I'm going to use the bezel to tell the time for the East Coast of Canada. And then, of course, I'm going to just use the time that is set for my time zone. Now, I know that it is 3 hours behind us on the West Coast. And so what I'll do is I'll pull the crown out, and I'm going to set the GMT, and I will set it to 9 a.m. on the dial. And there it is there. Okay, so now I can tell by looking at this dial that the GMT hand pointing at the 9 means it's 9 a.m. It's 12 p.m. for me, but it's 9 a.m. in the West Coast in Vancouver. Now, here's the trick. you can see that the dial itself is counting 12 hours. So for every hour on the dial, it's 2 hours for the 24-hour bezel. So because the GMT hand is between the 4 and the 5, I know, even if I turn the bezel, I know 4 o'clock would be 8, 5 o'clock would be 10, and therefore in between the 4 and the 5 is 9. And it's a little tricky, but you just have to be able to do those calculations. Now, on the East Coast, it is actually an hour ahead. And so I'm going to move the bezel, because we're keeping track of that time with the bezel. I'm going to move it to 1300 hours, which is 1 p.m. On the East Coast. So I can now tell that it is 12 p.m. my time, 1 p.m. using the bezel, 1300 hours on the East Coast in Canada. And just using the GMT and where it is located, I know between the 4 and 5 that it is sitting at 9. So it would be 9 a.m. on the West Coast. So that's how you would use this GMT style watch to tell time in 3 different time zones. And so here's what it looks like on wrist, guys. It is an absolute beautiful watch. A couple of things I forgot to mention. It is a sapphire crystal covering the dial, and it is rated at 100 meters of water resistance. And now, to test you, I have gone ahead and wound the dial ahead. And so you can see that it is 4 p.m., at least according to, it's really not 4 p.m. when I'm recording this, but just for the sake of using the GMT, you can see that the hour hand on the dial is pointing to 4 p.m. The GMT is pointing to 1700 hours using the bezel, so I know it is 5 p.m. on the East Coast. And because it is between the 6 and 7 o'clock, so 6 would be 12, 7 would be 2. The 6 is 12 o'clock, the 7 is 2 o'clock p.m. Right in between the two is 1500 hours, so that's 1 p.m., 3 hours behind on the West Coast. Pretty amazing. Functions really well. Absolutely beautiful watch. I'll leave a link in the description where you can get it on the Pagani Design official site as well as on Aliexpress. So that's the Pagani Design PD1662. If you don't have, or if like me, in my case, you cannot spend $20,000 to get the Rolex version of this watch, you can pick up the watch. It looks just like the Rolex. You get the look. You get all of the functions of having a GMT, automatic movement, sapphire crystal, solid stainless steel bracelet, solid end link, solid link screw pins in the bracelet, which I forgot to mention. You just get a fantastic watch for the price that you pay. Pagani Design does have, in my opinion, the best value for a watch that you can buy, at least so far that I have seen, with all of the specs that you get on their watches, and you get great looking pieces. So, as always, whenever you leave your house, make sure you have a great looking piece on your wrist, and wherever you go, make sure you get there on time. Please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and comment, and thanks for your support. God bless you. We'll see you in the next one.